All right, so let's just peg it. Oh, shit. I think my brain is in the back seat.
Yeah, my lunch is in the trunk right now.
Okay, all right. That was just in the Plaid mode. None of that drag strip waiting for 7 minutes. None of that nonsense. And that just gave us whiplash. And we're two children. So imagine some like older people in here. I swear, if I put my mother in this, she would either cry or dude, her heart might actually stop. I mean, that's genuinely.
My parents asked me to let them out of the vehicle after one lunch.
Oh, dude, that's ballistic. That's not even fair to the internal combustion cars. But that's kind of what leads us into this review, talking about what is this? I mean, it's a flexing machine. You go to the country clubs, you go to Wegmans, Whole Foods, Starbucks, and you tell people who you are, and you pull up in this and you do a couple of passenger seat launches and you let them know, I'm better than you. That's what this is. People are saying, oh, you don't need this. I mean, you don't need anything, right? Even going up a hill, it doesn't matter. Uphill, downhill, it's all the same thing. And fortunately, the brakes are good. That helps.
They're decent. I think personally, this is the first car I've driven or been in that actually accelerates quicker than it can brake.
Yeah,
brakes are good, but it's not to the speed.
It's got 1,020 horsepower, 0 to 60 claimed to be 1.99 seconds, which I think that includes like the 1,000-foot roll or whatever it is. So it's been tested to do 2.3 seconds and 9.23 seconds in the quarter mile at 155 miles an hour. That's all great, and that pretty much matches a Bugatti Chiron Sport. But more importantly, though, 30 to 50 miles an hour and 50 to 70 miles an hour happens in about a second. That's twice as fast as a Bugatti Chiron Sport. So the only thing topping this is like the Rimac, whatever it's called. And here's a downhill right here. We can kind of punch it. Oh, oh, dude. Okay. And here's the problem with this car. Normal people, I mean, we're just doing that for fun, right? But we're reaching speeds that are, dude, triple the speed limit. And if a cop sees you, you're busted forever. I mean, that's reckless speeding. So of course there's no practical use for this. It's just for showing off. The speed and acceleration, we know what it is. The hype is there. It's real. You can forget the Corvettes and the other cars. Nothing is topping this. Fine. We accept that. But how does it drive for everyday purposes? Well, doing just regular speed limits, I mean, this is relatively quiet. This has thicker glass now.
Yeah, it has a double pane glass, and it's also supposed to insulate the cabin with the speakers.
Correct. Noise canceling speakers, 22 speakers set up, 960 watts. The steering wheel is a complete and absolute nuisance. There's no doubt about that. Making 3-point turns, U-turns, everyday turns. Very annoying in my opinion. Have you been able to get used to it?
I've gotten used to driving the steering wheel in like a normal basis in parking lots and things. You can kind of push down on the sides when you're turning in a slower manner like in cities. But the one thing I regularly just would prefer a circle steering wheel. It's just, it's the normal thing and it just works better.
Sometimes I like to pretend like I'm the driving instructor at like a high school, and I like to do the 10 and 2 with the thumb out and everything. Sometimes I like to do that, and like the whole shuffling thing. Mm-hmm. That's now impossible with this.
Yeah, I used to say they put the steering wheel in because it forces you into the right driving position,
right.
Which it does, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I still would prefer a circle steering wheel.
It takes some getting used to, but you know what this also is? It's kind of training us to get used to cars without steering wheels at all, and then they're going to take the bottom out, and then the sides out too, and we're just going to be used to that. Just for fun. Let's just strap in and hit that one more time. That. A lot of people argue that these types of cars, they have no soul, and they don't, but that is so preposterous that it actually doesn't get old.
Matter.
Yeah, that doesn't
get old.
Like, I've been driving a lot of these twin turbocharged turds lately. That X3 M40i that I drove last week, all these kind of turbocharged things that do like 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, which seem good on paper. Those cars genuinely aren't that exciting. You'll get tired of those cars in like 2 months. And this is so insane that you won't get tired of it, because this is the next evolution of those vehicles. Because if you're not going to have a Soul anyway, you might as well just go full EV and experience this level of thrust, right? So that's what I've been saying. But my only problem with EVs as a car person is in the future, you see what they're doing with gas prices right now, $6, $7, $10, whatever it is. So gas prices are insane. My only problem is people are just going to be forced into this stuff, and then things like the Shelby GT350, Hellcats, LC500s, they can't coexist with cars like this. Otherwise, I'm all for EVs as like a daily driver. You know, I think they are the superior choice.
Just the smoothness, the not having a transmission makes such a big difference. It's just and the instant torque. It's the first thing that all Tesla owners say, but it's true.
Correct. That's there's no transmission involved, so there's none of that lag and delay as well. Because a lot of these turbo cars, like I'm testing that Jaguar F-Pace right now, one of the things that annoys me is when you initially step on it to make a left-hand turn in an intersection, it lags, and that's kind of dangerous if there's a car flying in. So that's annoying. But anyway, another thing to note, the handling of this and the ride quality. This is a beautiful ride quality, even with the 21-inch wheels. They have really improved the driving of this compared to the P100D that I tested, and the previous Tesla Model S's. I didn't like the Model S. I like the Model 3 and the Model Y.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the old Model S because of, I don't know, it was an old design that it came out in 2013, and they didn't refresh it until last year, so 2021. It's almost a 10-year-old car.
Correct.
So.
And the suspension was so weird and wallowy, and I can tell that it can make some people car sick.
It did improve throughout the years a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you got a much older generation vehicle, it probably was a little bit worse than some of the newer generations, but they definitely significantly made improvements for this newer generation vehicle.
This lacks the precision of maybe like a BMW M sedan, because this is tuned so well for everyday real world driving, I think, in my opinion. I think this has the correct amount of compliance. This genuinely isn't a bad product. I really thought that they usually screw up the suspension on these Model S's, and they've really fixed that here. It's got the multi-link suspension with the air ride, of course. If we did wait for that drag strip mode, there was something called the cheetah mode, right?
The cheetah stance mode. It'll pull up the back end and just optimal stance for launch control. And you also have track mode, so you can adjust the dampening and everything in the suspension if you want, and you can just switch stability control to only the front, or turn it off completely so you can drift it around. That's my one complaint about the steering wheel. It's really hard to drift with a yoke.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it weighs about 4,800 pounds. A lot of people are like constantly complaining about the weight of these cars. Dude, most of those Euro turds weigh about 4,500 pounds.
They weigh about the same.
With 3 electric motors, and they're using carbon fiber for like the rotors, I think, inside of the those motors.
They're carbon sleeve rotors.
Yeah, exactly. So they can spin up to 20,000 RPM, so that makes it quicker to respond and everything.
Does that make this higher revving than any other engine?
No, objectively, this is actually a really good car for the streets. If you're really hustling and really trying to test its limits, the limits are not that high on this because it is tuned more for softness, and I think that's good for the road. I've heard some complaints that the straight line stability isn't that great, but really it wasn't bad.
I think in the comfort steering mode, it may be a little bit more wobbly, but when you turn it into sport in the straight line, it definitely gets handles a little better.
I like the standard steering weight. That's not bad.
When I'm daily driving it around, I like using comfort just because it's easier to turn the wheel.
Sure.
You can one-hand it a little bit better and push down on one side with one hand.
Oh,
but,
I see.
Other than that, standard and sport, if you're trying to drive fast, are definitely the best.
Yeah, that's true. My biggest complaint with the suspension has been addressed. Sure, it's not razor sharp like some of the Euro stuff is, but nor do I care because the ride quality is here. I think you get 19-inch wheels.
The 19-inch wheels do help a lot, but I just don't like the way they look.
Right.
Hubcaps on a $150,000 car, it just doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. This is $150,000. Obviously, for most normal people, that's a total waste of time because you can get like the regular Model S, which is like $90,000, and that's more than enough. But really, I think we both agree the Model 3s and the Model Ys are still the value proposition for most people. For most families anyway. What needs to happen next? The Rimax, right? Now we need 2,000 horsepower because this isn't enough anymore. Now we're spoiled.
I'm spoiled. Everything else is slow.
So that's the thing. If you want an internal combustion engine vehicle, the turbo stuff isn't going to cut it anymore. Now you need things like the Shelby GT350s, something that invigorates the soul. Those are going to be the only cars that are going to excite anymore, the LC 500s. But those cars are quickly starting to disappear because there's a problem with performance cars and car guy cars. And that's, nobody buys them. Car people, car guys on the internet talk a good game, but they don't buy any of these cars.
Talk, but they don't go and buy them.
And
Unfortunately.
I mean, ideally, this is a 150K car. I mean, ideally, you should have a $1.5 million net worth technically to afford it. Or you can be like me and be totally poor and just sign the dotted line on a 72-month loan. But most people are too scared to do that, understandably so, because that's stupid. But, you know, that's the realities of buying cars like this if you want it. And then poor people like me just dump it after 6 months. So that's how I've been able to do it. But that's I'm sorry, that's the only way.
It's the truth.
It is. So, I mean, most car people, they say, oh, why doesn't Lexus do this? Why don't they put a V16 in that? And it's just like, the best way I can describe it is, okay, let's say you're running a business and you're making toilets, right? And let's say you put $1 million into this toilet. You made the best toilet. It never clogs, never does anything. It can flush anything. Mm-hmm. Nobody buys it. But a couple of 12-year-olds comment and say, dude, that's awesome. Keep going with that toilet. Next time, make it so that you can wipe yourself too. So you invest another $1 million. And then you make the perfect toilet that even wipes yourself. Yet nobody buys it still. So would you keep investing money no matter how good the product is if nobody buys it? Is that a viable business plan? No. And that was a ridiculous example. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about the interior space now. All right. Done driving it. Let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space because that's another huge topic of concern for a lot of people. Interior, vastly improved over other Tesla products. You know, I think you would agree.
Significantly better than Model 3 and Y. The materials feel better and design's nice. It's definitely significantly improved from the old Model S.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They're actually using real carbon fiber as a trim all throughout the cabin space. And it's like that matte carbon fiber, not the glossy one. So I also prefer that.
Looks really good and stays clean as well.
Exactly, yeah. And everything, like these old door handles, there's like a sturdiness to it. Now, is it, I mean, obviously it's not going to be like the Mercedes EQSs and the Porsche Taycans, but I think most people have identified what this is, and they were actually okay with the crappy build quality before. They're now going to be pleased that this is a true effort.
The build quality has actually gotten significantly better. I have not noticed panel gaps or anything like that. The only real places where I notice build quality, and I've owned 7 Teslas in the past 2 years, is the usually it's the weather stripping. That's where there's issues, but other than that, they're pretty good. They've improved a lot in 21 and 22.
Another thing, actually, we were driving at some good speeds, obviously, and the wind noise isn't crazy in this.
Yeah, you can't hear any wind noise, or there's just no whistling or anything crazy like that.
Also,
my other complaint would be the haptic feedback. For the turn signals and the door buttons, I wish they were real buttons. They were real buttons in the 3 and the Y, but now they're all haptic feedback. Takes a second to get used to, or a couple days to get used to, but after that.
For the door, it's fine. I'm okay pressing this old button for the door. It's similar to like the Corvettes. Also, this is the key, right? Similar to a Porsche, actually. So you have that, and you also have the card as well.
You also have the 2 cards that you can give to friends and just put in your credit card wallet.
But of course, you just use the phone app. Yeah. Infotainment, you have the 17-inch infotainment display. The thing about Elon Musk and Tesla in general as a car is they've actually done a great job appealing to non-car people. They have revolutionized the car to the point where it's gotten the attention of normal people because that's what they want. They want the big screens. They want the tech. On paper, this car is actually the best car on the planet if you just look at it objectively from the paper. He's focused on that, and he achieved that. Okay, this is the fastest accelerating. It's the safest car. It's the lowest coefficient of drag.
And it's really spacious, and you can actually put things in the trunk and front trunk. no other hypercar that actually goes this fast has space like this car does.
It has the best technology in the eyes of most consumers. This is a lot of menu jumping. It is something that you have to get used to. For me, it's a lot. How has it been for you?
For me, switching from the 3 to Y, it probably took a day or two. But
Right.
like everything is still there. It's really easy to get to. You can figure it out really quickly. It's fast, it works, and it's great. I found the software on this car compared to any other EV or any other car is way far ahead. I owned a Mach-E for a while. I still own a Hyundai Ioniq. The software is just tears and tears better. They just had time to get it down, and they fixed everything, all the kinks.
Most people are actually against physical buttons. We have been, advertised that physical buttons are for peasants now. We do everything on a touchscreen. That's the new thing to do. I obviously want the physical buttons, but we're never going to get that in the EV type cars. And because of that, this is quick to respond. I think this has like 10 teraflops.
It has an AMD Ryzen processor,
Yeah.
like a regular gaming computer almost.
Yeah, because this is supposed to do a little bit of
PS5
gaming.
processing power is what they say.
Yeah, console power.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you're charging the vehicle, you want to be able to play some games and all that. And it's got the fart mode. Can you pull up that fart thing?
Yeah, I think it's in the entertainment. You got a bunch of games here, and then there's you can watch YouTube, Netflix,
Right.
whatever. And I don't know where it is. Toy box. There it is. They moved everything around
Oh, did they?
a little bit. Yeah.
Emission. Okay, there it is. Fart on demand. Okay, and where's that button?
So it's the left scroll wheel, so it's this on the left side. Yeah, and then you turn up the volume.
Let's turn that up.
And of course you have 10 different types of farts, because one fart's not enough.
Oh, that's that big boy right there. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Yeah, so, I mean, no matter how old you are, that is just... That's ideal right there. So, I mean, this car needs that, though. It needs
It makes it fun.
Exactly. This is, being an electric car, it needs to adopt all these things. So I'm all for that. That's very good. Digital gauge cluster there's not really much going on here. It's very the simplistic type, and obviously they did the yoke so you can see this more clearly.
When you do have navigation on there, it shows all the navigation on there and the lanes really, really nicely in the heads-up display. And since there's no wheel, you can see everything really nice unless you're on a turn.
Similar to the Audi, like it'll show the whole thing. Yeah, okay. Plenty of interior space, cubby holes. Almost reminds me of like a pickup truck console. Actually, it has like that level of space and true wireless charging pad.
There are actually 2 more in the back as well, so there's 4 wireless chargers in this car.
Okay, and let's go ahead and let's hop into that rear seat, and we can talk about that as well. Okay, and here is the rear seats. The only thing is there's not a lot of toe room because of the way the seat is. It's a little bit too low to put your toes back there. But the actual legroom is fine. I am 5'11". Getting in and out isn't too bad, but my knees are a little too high, which surprised me because all the battery pack weight is down low, yet my feet are still so high. But the one good thing is the floor is flat. You can genuinely have an adult in this seat, but again, my knees are very high in this. And this is a screen that you can play with. Just adjust this, and it's cool. You can direct the air however you want. It's all done through the touchscreen. So you can also watch things here. But really, if you're going to actually use this for entertainment, it would have been nice to just have it here. But that way you would have 2 screens, and I guess maybe they didn't want to invest in that. So you have to look down, is what it is. Seats themselves, I do like them. They're very soft and comfortable. Kind of bring this down. Again, carbon fiber. Use of carbon fiber is rather liberal, and I do appreciate that. And you have some storage here as well. This is where you have the 2 wireless charging pads. No pass-through, but as we're about to see, there is plenty of space here to work with. Okay. We have a hatchback similar to like an Audi A7. And of course, you can put down the rear seats. Here's some of the charging equipment. It's kind of Velcroed on there, and you have more space underneath. And that's the little front trunk there. So definitely a practical car. There's no doubt about that. You just your knees are a little bit higher. That's about it. That's the only con. sitting in the rear seats, but for the most part, you should be fine. Concluding thoughts on this Tesla Model S Plaid. To be honest, going into this with my previous experience with the Model S, I didn't think I would like it. Model 3, Model Y, that's definitely the pragmatic choice. That's the one I would go with in the lineup. Another thing we totally forgot to mention is the range, because we were so into the speed of it. They claim almost 400 miles of range. Is that true?
This one has the bigger wheels, so it's about 346 is rated, but
right.
I would say on the highway, all Teslas are about 10 to 15% off of the actual EPA estimated range.
But that's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay. So, but obviously you have to drive like somebody's grandmother to achieve that, 350 or so miles of range.
I don't know. You could probably get 300 if you were cruising at 70.
Okay, cruising. Okay, so like what we did, okay, like occasionally stepping on it, like what would happen to that range? Because
not good.
It's not okay. The other sucky thing about EVs is like during the cold, I mean that range drops significantly, I've heard.
The Teslas are better because they have the heat pumps, so
gotcha.
they do better than other EVs in the cold, but they do suffer a little bit in the cold. When you park them outside and say it's snowing, it definitely will drop a couple percent overnight.
Okay. And I think they upgraded the heat pump even further for this model, for the Plaid, I think.
They may have. I'm not too sure of that.
Okay, I thought I read something like that. Yeah, anything that does over 300 miles legitimately in the real world is
more
great.
Than enough. There's superchargers everywhere. I've driven this car, or not this car, but my Model Y all the way to Los Angeles from North Carolina, and I've had no issues.
Okay. Most importantly for me, the driving is appropriate for what you're going to be doing out on the street. I thought this would be a very wallowy, pillowy car that is imprecise. I thought this whole steering was going to be whack, and the suspension is going to make me sick. It rode nicely with the 21-inch wheels, and because we know the speed is great, that's been covered immensely. It's the ride quality and the decent handling of this that impressed me. Obviously, it's not a sports sedan. It's more so leaning to the comfort side of things, and that's fine. That's actually what I prefer in a street car. Would I personally buy this? No, because of the price. That's the only thing. If I was spending 130 grand, I mean, I know you bought this for business purposes, etc., and you want to experience the fastest car on the planet, but if you were spending 130 grand, wouldn't you?
I would probably go Ferrari FF or something more exotic.
Of
I
course,
was spending that kind of money.
Even in terms of EVs, like there's a Taycan and there's an EQS.
In terms of EVs, I would say this is the best deal. I
test
drove an EQS and I test drove a Taycan before I bought this.
Okay.
The Taycan handles amazing. The EQS is very, very luxurious, and it has the highest range.
Yeah.
So on a road trip, that would probably do best. But this, I would say, is the best all-around, just daily driver EV, or luxury EV.
That's actually a fair statement, because the interior is actually truly improved.
It is vastly improved.
And of course, this is pissing me off. I mean, this is not a go for me.
Yeah.
That turns me off from this car.
It pisses a lot of people off,
right?
But a lot of people love it for that reason.
That's true too. Yeah. The regular Model S doesn't have the yoke, right?
All of the new Model S's and X's have the yoke, even the X's.
Okay. All right. That's making me reconsider, man. But no, you're right though. Objectively, from a driving standpoint, this would be, I feel like, right in the middle of a Taycan and the Model S, and I think this is pulling that off pretty well. Also, another thing to consider are plug-in hybrids. If you can find one in this market, I really do think that's a good middle ground between something like this and full EVs, because things like the BMW X5 plug-in and also the new Lexus NX, that'll do 40 miles of pure electric range, and also the BMW do about 30. So that, I think, is a pretty good compromise for most families, as well as something else to look into. But yeah, from a performance standpoint, this is pissing on everything. I mean, there's the Lucid. You haven't tried the Lucid, right?
I have not tried the Lucid yet.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Yeah, that one has also captivated me. I like the way that looks, because the EQS looks so dumb.
The EQS, I personally like the way it looks, but no one else does.
Yeah.
I know it looks that way because of the aerodynamics, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, that is technically more aerodynamic than this by like a
ever
little
so
bit,
slightly.
ever so
and
slightly.
I think the Lucid comes out on top of that ever so slightly.
Does it?
Or it may be the other way around.
Oh,
but they're like so close to each other, and they're basically keep
When is all of these are like in the 0.2 range. Yeah, so get it if you want to. If you have the money, sure, experience it. There's nothing touching this in terms of speed other than like the Lucid fully loaded one, which you can't reserve anymore. That's something to keep in mind. I'm not a hater of EVs. I never have been. I've only just hated them because they're removing the cars I personally love, like the V8s that are making gas like 10 gallons and all. I mean, $10 per gallon and all these things. So that's the only problem. When people see that, they're going to start putting orders in for EVs, right? So that's just what's going to happen naturally. If there's a world where both of these types of cars can coexist, I'm all for it. Have one of these and then have the Shelby. You know, that's ideal. So that's kind of my thoughts. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It genuinely does drive good. So with that established, thank you for watching. And if you want to rent this car, all of yeah,
link below.
Yeah, if you're in the Charlotte area, so
or Raleigh Cary area.
Yeah, Raleigh Cary area as well. So thanks again, take care, and goodbye.